Hi class, it's Dr. Janachuk here. Just wanted to go over your week 3 assignments. So moving into a week on painting and photography, which are genres of art that most people are familiar with. And I know a lot of you from your introductory videos mentioned paintings that both challenged you, or you found enjoyable. So perhaps you'd like to maybe further explore that painting that troubled you or challenged you in this week. And that would be a good exercise to push yourself to see if you can gain new insight into it. So for this week, you need to read chapters 4 and 11 in your textbook, and I can't underscore enough the importance of that textbook for doing the, for understanding the course content and really getting a good handle on how to talk about art and the humanities. So you definitely need that resource. So if you're having trouble locating one, please reach out to me, let me know, see we can arrange, but definitely need the textbook regularly. There are a variety of other supplemental resources that you need to look at this week. There's a timeline of art history, of African art history. It's important that we, explore, art through other cultures as well, and avoid having a sort of Eurocentric approach to discussing art. So there are resources on other traditions in art as well. There are a bunch of videos that you need to watch, and videos and timelines as well in your supplemental resources, including a really helpful video discussion of modern paintings, which I know somebody had a Jackson Pollock that they mentioned that they're not sure, they struggled to appreciate that particular art form, and that video might be useful for learning to think critically about modern art there. So, and again, as a rule of thumb, since this class does not meet in person, you need to be spending about 3 hours a week going through all of those learning resources to gain good grasp on the content, in addition to doing the chapter readings and the assignments, which as a rule of thumb might take about 6 hours a week. So just make sure that you're budgeting your time appropriately and giving those writing activities and other assignments enough time and attention that you're able to really develop your ideas. So you want to move beyond just making claims about things and really backing up your claims with support, using description to support the claims that you're making about a work of art. So if you're saying, this work of art, I believe the subject matter is waste. Well, what is making you think that that is the subject matter? What about that, painting or sculpture, or what is pointing that subject matter out to you? And then for the content, that other mode of assessing art from the perceptual criteria, the content, how is that subject matter being transformed by the artistic form? What is the interpretation that you can derive from how that subject matter is being represented in the artwork? So for instance, you might have a painting that is about there is an artwork that has like the excessive number of electronics, like where all the electronics waste ends up and it ends up in developing countries. And I'm forgetting the artist, but I believe it's a painting that's split onto multiple boards. Either painting or I think it's a painting. Either painting or a photograph. I think it's a painting. Anyway, the subject matter is wastefulness. And then how does that art form, artistic form, transform the subject matter to give us a particular interpretation for the content? So what is the painting communicating about waste? That would be the content, right? Is it sort of, decrying the wastefulness that comes from excessive consumption of technology, and how technology has kind of become a lot like fast fashion, where we sort of burn through iPhones, Macs and etc., and then they all end up, in a fill in a third world country and is polluting other continents there. So, that's the difference between subject matter and content. Then you also have artistic form, which is, just that unity there, describing how the different elements are working together in some sort of unified, coherent way. And then participation, which is more than just, this painting got me to, or this piece of art, really got my attention, but it requires that level of sustained engagement where you sort of lose yourself in the moment. You forget where you are for a moment in time and are sort of transported to that sort of a communion with that artwork. And so that's really a very deep level of engagement that a lot of aesthetic experiences that we might encounter, or aesthetic objects might not inspire. So those are the 4 perceptual criteria that I just wanted to go over quickly. And then for this week to do, you have reading guides for chapters 4 and 11 that are due Saturday. You have a discussion forum post. The initial post is due Saturday, and then you have 2 response posts due Tuesday. Then initial post, you're going to choose a painting or photograph, research the context, and the specifics for what that context includes are in the instructions. And then you need to practice not only descriptive criticism, but evaluative and interpretive criticism. So you want to start by, doing what you did in your week 1 activities, where you're just detailing all of the different elements, taking notes of all the different elements that you can note in the artwork. So brush strokes, colors, shadows, placement, foregrounding, what's in the background, and other elements. What's the subject, what are the other elements there that you can just note. So you're just identifying what's in that piece of art. And then you're using that description to move beyond then in this week for the discussion post, and you're thinking about, what interpretation can you gather from how those elements are working together, and especially if you can think about those elements in relation to, the context of that artwork's creation. Is it connecting with any sort of historical or cultural idea or issue, and how is it commenting on that event in history? Or if it's not commenting on an event in history, is it just commenting on sort of a facet of humanity, like love or greed, or etc. So what larger message can you derive, and what content can you derive from the subject matter based on how those different elements are working together? And then evaluative, where you're starting to think about, is this art, good? Is it enjoyable? Does it have value? Does it have value to, those who appreciate art? Does it have value to us as Christians? So those are the 3 levels of criticism that you'll be practicing for the painting or photograph that you choose. You can choose whichever one you want, though there are some that are listed in the assignment if you want to choose one of those. And then you have your second humanities engagement due Tuesday. So you'll want to pick another sort of category of engagement and do something related to painting or photography for this week. And that's due Tuesday. And then for the discussion forum, those 2 response posts are due Tuesday. And then you are going to sort of agree or disagree with 2 of your peers' interpretations and or evaluations. So maybe you think that Jackson Pollock is really, really good, but somebody wrote about how they don't like Jackson Pollock or still can't appreciate him, even after sort of trying to derive an interpretation. That's just an example. I know a lot of you also were challenged by Dali. Can you explore Dali in more depth this week? Does that background knowledge of sort of what he was responding to in that time period, does that shed light on why he's using surrealism to reimagine everyday objects? So I look forward to seeing what you guys come up with this week, and if you have questions, don't hesitate to email me.